Hi, my name's Phil Lawson. I'm a PhD student with Boston University working at CMS.
Hi, Phil. What's your involvement with CMS?
Our group has a large involvement with the hadronic calorimeter of CMS. So for the last year and a half, I've been working on some of the hardware and software of the hadron calorimeter at CMS.
And what has this actually been involving?
So Boston University's electronics design facility designed and built some boards that are responsible for bringing the data into the data stream. By that I mean they take the different data coming from the front ends of the detector, the very raw elements of the detector, and organize the data in such a way that it can be written to the disk really fast, such that it can be analyzed later.
So is a lot of your work actually to do with computational things?
It's a mixture of hardware and software, the computational part. It's understanding the hardware and the algorithms of the hardware itself. And my primary role was to write the software drivers for the computers that control these different cards and organize them together to accomplish one main goal. So it was a mixture of electronics and software as well.
So how have you acquired this knowledge? How have you been able to write this hardware?
I actually started out in software a long time ago in the industry. I was working for a satellite software company. And then I transitioned during my undergraduate years to working at National Institute of Standards and Technology in the US. And there I had to do a lot of interfacing computers with hardware to automate our experiments. So that's where I picked up a lot of the skills of understanding the key elements involved in getting computers to talk with hardware and doing so efficiently.
But you're now doing a PhD?
That's correct.
And is there a focus with this?
There will be, hopefully, eventually. Right now, I'm just making that transition from having worked on the software and hardware to focusing more on working on physics. And as such, it's a little too early to see what exactly I want to get into. It's a question of how well our data comes in for the early data runs. So what we're working on right now in our group is setting up ourselves to be able to conduct analyses in very different topics of the physics, and kind of seeing which of these will pan out and be most useful for early data, and then pursue that maybe a little more strongly and focused.
So will you actually be analysing the data and looking for
We'll be analysing data and looking for various signatures. I mean, there are the classic Higgs searches that everybody talks about, but there's also other kinds of things that we get involved with. One of the things that we've been looking at getting involved with is a sort of exotic state in what are known as hidden valley theories, where you are able to create these states that are theorized to exist, that are very short-lived, but they have an interesting decay property that makes them difficult to detect and puts them out of the norm of what we call the standard model.
So is this something that the Boston University is looking at, or something that you're particularly interested in?
It's something myself and one of the professors that I work with, Arno Heister, are particularly interested in. We are fortunate to have many professors in our group doing many different things, which I think is only a plus because it just puts Boston University out there to be able to collaborate on many different things and makes you sensitive to being able to make discoveries in different realms. So we luckily have many people working on broad things. It's not a Boston University interest, it's more of a personal interest, I would say.
Okay. And is this your main interest?
For now, but that might change quickly when other things become evident about the data of the detector itself.
So have you been working at Boston University as well as at CERN? How has that worked out?
Yeah, so I started working at Boston University on the project about a year and a half ago. And then during last summer, I was here for 3 months working on site. Then I went back to Boston for a year to finish up some academic coursework. And now I'm back here in CERN for the summer, but I'm staying here for at least 2 years or however long it takes me to finish up my PhD.
So how was it working for CMS but from quite a distance away?
It was difficult. It's not easy. It's a question of efficiency. It's certainly a lot easier to collaborate when you're able to talk to the people face to face. It's certainly the meetings here are all teleconference, so it's easy to attend the meetings. Well, you have a time difference to worry about, which is 6 hours to Boston. That's the primary problem. So the effect of that is that it's very difficult to keep tabs on what kind of happens here on a daily basis with both the detector, the software world, and as well as what are the hot topics in analysis that people really want to look at.
So you're glad to be here at CERN at the moment?
I do.
And so what are you enjoying about being here?
I enjoy the pace of the work. It's like I said, it's a lot more efficient to work here. It's a lot easier to walk down the hall to collaborate with someone than to try to catch them on the phone or via email and play phone tag constantly. So that's a very nice aspect of it. It's also just a nice community in that you have a lot of theorists here, a lot of experimentalists, and even the very casual social moments when you're grabbing coffee or staying for a beer after work or what have you, tend to be very productive in terms of the actual work that we do as well, because you end up talking about work and you end up getting some things done even then.
So you're enjoying living here in Geneva?
Absolutely, definitely.
How is it different to Boston?
Well, it's Europe compared to the U.S., so that's the primary difference. Certainly Geneva is not a very large city, and Boston has that in common. Boston's not a very large city. There aren't that many high-rises in Boston because it's a very old city. Very old in American terms, which is not much to say here in Europe, but so that it has that in common with Geneva, but Geneva just has a much more international flair, certainly.
So what do you usually do in your free time?
In my free time, I like to remain as active as possible and take advantage of the nice area here. We've got mountains, the lake, everything, so I like to be outdoors a lot. I like to go cycling, hiking in the mountains, whatever I can to get out.
So when you're working, what does a typical day look like?
That's the beauty of working at CMS, is that, or at the LHC in general, is that there really is no typical day. There are days when I come in that are quite boring, where you are stuck in very long meetings all day long, and that's not the most fun you can have here. But there are days when you've got some problem to solve, and you sit at your desk working on some problem. And then there's days when we're actually at the experiment working on some hardware. So it's a variety of work, and every day is kind of a little different.
So I understand you're going to be here at CERN for another 2 years. After you've finished your PhD, what kind of things are you looking to do?
I haven't quite decided that yet. I don't tend to plan things out like that. But to first order, I really wouldn't mind staying involved with the LHC and CMS. That would not be the worst thing in the world for me. So I could very well imagine doing a postdoc on CMS and just staying involved with this experiment and seeing it through to the end.
So for younger students who are looking to pursue a career in particle physics, what would your words of advice be to them?
Get involved. Get involved any way you can. If you're a freshman in physics during your undergraduate time, don't be afraid to knock on some professor's door and say, what can I do? What can I do to help you guys? You may not receive any payment in return for it, but that's kind of the price you have to pay. But it's really fun, and there's a lot of fun projects to do. That's one of the beauties of an experiment this large, is that there's way too many projects to do and too little manpower. So get involved any way you can is just the best advice I can give to anybody that wants to.
And for any students who are particularly interested in following CMS, are there any opportunities for them to follow data or learn more about it?
Yes, I mean, one of the disadvantages is that detectors will be closed up. It's a lot more difficult to get involved with the hardware, but certainly there's easy ways to get involved with the data analysis, to get involved with simulation of the data. So there's all kinds of projects that are just begging for people to do.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just that I've enjoyed my time here so far. We'll see if that stance changes 3 years down the road, but right now it's just a lot of fun being involved with an experiment and a collaboration this large.
Thank you so much, Phil, for sharing your experiences and your knowledge.
My pleasure.
And we thank you for your time.
Thank you.